iPhone SE3 coming early next year, XLoader Malware is now native on Apple Silicon, and a whole bunch of your questions iCaveAnswered. I'm iCave Dave and I simplify Apple so that everything just works for you, and if you want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours every weekday at 12 UTC, like the video, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. So first story today, the iPhone SE3 will bring the A15 and 5G to the antique form factor of the iPhone 8, which is basically still the same as the iPhone 6, so we're going back a little way now. So this is expected to have that 4.7-inch LCD screen, home button, Touch ID, which at least is the solid state version. It's not a clicky physical button now, but it's got the haptic feedback. You're going to have 5G to it, and as a result, probably pretty terrible battery. I'm personally surprised that Apple still wants to bring the iPhone SE out to market. I feel like this particular form factor, at least, I don't have a problem with there being an iPhone SE. I do have a problem with using quite such an old form factor, not just because it's got Touch ID in the button, which is just a little bit of a pain, to be completely honest, compared to Face ID. The biggest issues that I see with it is that the battery is going to be horrendous. These things don't have a big battery anyway, and to put a 5G chip in there, as well as the A14, which is pretty powerful, and as a result, fairly power hungry compared to the lower spec chips, it feels like it's a bit of a recipe for disaster, but I could be completely wrong. What else could Apple change on this? Probably the camera on the back could probably do with an upgrade at this point. I think that's something that could be done. But for me, if Apple is going to make an iPhone SE3, they should take the iPhone XR chassis, which is the Face ID version, but with an LCD display, and it's a little bit lower resolution, and it's got a little bit more chunk to it, so it's got more space for battery. I think that's the way that I would go if it was me at Apple, but it isn't me at Apple, it's Tim Cook at Apple, and Tim Cook basically gets to decide. What I would really like, though, is for Apple to basically kill this device style, or at least bring the gestures over from the Face ID equipped phones, so that rather than just having to click the button at the bottom, you can swipe up to do back to home. You can swipe down from the top two corners to get the different control center and notification center stuff. I think that would be a really good way of Apple kind of getting people used to this, because I think a lot of the problem for people is that they know this form factor of the phone, they know that it has a button here, and they know that everything works the way that it did, whereas there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work the same way as it did when you move over to an iPhone X style phone. So let me know down in the comments which part of the iPhone is more important to you, the quicker chip, the A15 chip, or the form factor with the Face ID and having that all-screen display rather than having the big chin at the bottom and the forehead at the top for all the other stuff. Next up, XLoader Malware is now a threat to Macs. The formerly Windows malware tool known as XLoader has apparently been ported to the Mac, meaning it's probably a good idea to be careful about what you're downloading right now. Also, it's a little bit depressing that malware developers seem to be a lot more keen on getting their apps ready for Apple Silicon and Big Sur and now Monterey than, actual developers. So what does the XLoader do? Well, once it's installed, it could trick you into giving access to your passwords, take screenshots on your behalf on the Mac, or access anything that you've copied to the clipboard. macOS Gatekeeper will stop it from running, but only assuming you know that that's what's about to run and it's not infected within another piece of software. But with 200 million Macs now in use, the platform is looking a lot more lucrative to malware creators, so expect this to get worse. And speaking of hacking, remember last year when Apple was offering you double any bitcoins that you sent to Apple's account on Twitter for half an hour? Well, the guy behind that, a 22-year-old man by the name of Joseph O'Connor, has been arrested. In what was termed a phone spear phishing attack, O'Connor got access to Twitter's internal tools, thereby the accounts of Elon Musk, Joe Biden, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and of course Apple. They took over a bunch of accounts, but now they're going to prison. Right, at this point we're going to move into our iCaveAnswers section. This is where you can ask any question that you want by using hashtag iCaveAnswers down in the comments section. First up, RigSec asks, iCaveAnswers, do you think that Tim was being serious about stopping sales of the iPhone in the UK? I think it might have been to draw a line in the sand so that every other country does not go after Apple for the odd localised patents. Next up, Bottom Burp asks, iCaveAnswers, what was your thoughts in these rumours floating around that Apple will stop selling iPhones in the UK due to copyright infringements? I hope this is just a rumour because I wouldn't like to have my hand forced into a crappy Android phone. So 2 questions, 1 answer. Oh dear, it's so hard to know what Apple is thinking because they don't release a lot of this stuff, but I would say that Apple has a pretty decent market here in the UK, so it seems unlikely that it would want to pull out. However, if it is something that they're doing to prove a point, I feel like that is the sort of thing that Tim might do. For now, though, I would say it's probably at around about 10% chance of them actually pulling out of any market, but there is a chance, and if that happens, you guys in America, you're going to have to work with me, and we're going to need to buy stuff from you. Techable Tech asks, iCaveAnswers, what colours do you think the iPhone 13/12s will come in? Okay, tricky one. I have a feeling that Apple might be trying to unify these things into a single kind of colour language that they're doing. So I would say the same colours that the iMacs have come in this year. So it's also just, by the by, but it is the case, also the same colours that are on the original Apple logo, the Apple rainbow logo. Travis Smith asks, iCaveAnswers, will the lower priced iPads have 5G? So remember, all iPads do need to have an upgrade to go to 5G or 4G or 3G or any kind of cellular network. They don't come default with that, but if you've got a cellular one and you want to use it, I think we will get 5G. I think it may be another year down the line though, because the 5G chips are still very, very expensive, and I don't think they're particularly going to be a seller for most people. If Apple was to put the price up in order to achieve this, I don't feel like it's something that's going to make enough extra money to do it. However, once it gets to the point where the 5G modems can be done very cheaply, I have a feeling that Apple will throw them into just about everything. Ryan Bellinger asks, iCaveAnswers, do you think that the iPhone 13 Pro would support the Apple Pencil? Now, normally for this I would say no, but given the fact that we have got the smaller iPad mini on the way, which can have the flat sides, it's possible that they might do a Apple Pencil kind of builder's edition where you can put it behind your ear. That's where you keep it. But no, I could actually see them producing a shorter Apple Pencil, which is specifically for using with the iPad mini, but then also would work maybe with an iPhone 13. Now, we don't know, and I believe it's not super easy to just go, oh yes, we can turn that on. It's not a software thing. There would be some hardware, but I would love to see that. And from Ryan again, iCaveAnswers, will the M1X MacBook Pro models feature rounded display corners similar to the iPad Pro and iPad Air 4? So yes, I do think they're going to get the rounded display corners, but I think they're only going to get them at the top of the screen. I don't think at the bottom they actually need to. I think they can have it flat bottomed, and but yeah, I think that's what's going to happen, because I think it's going to look absolutely the part, having those curves at the top. Travis Smith asks, iCaveAnswers, why hasn't Apple introduced an Apple TV HD with an M1 chip? So I think for right now, the chips that are in there are absolutely adequate. It's an A12, I believe, and it does exactly what they need it to, so I don't think they're looking to replace those at the moment. The Apple TV is basically just a streaming box at this point. Now, can I see them doing an M1 or something similar down the line? Yes, absolutely. And we were talking about this in the fact that a TV with an M1 chip in it would basically be a Mac Mini in a smaller box, which is pretty cool, but just call it a Mac Mini. Not quite sure how they differentiate at that point, other than the software, which isn't necessarily enough. James Apple asks, what are your thoughts on the M1 Mac fan app that gives you the fan noise of an Intel x86 iMac? Because I thought the idea was to distance yourselves from the annoying fan noise due to the fact that it is the most annoying thing about Intel Macs. Yeah, I installed it. I'm kind of glad we don't hear this all the time now. Alan B Unboxings and News asks, if you had to pick M1 Macs or Intel or AMD or PowerPC Macs, which would it be? Apple Silicon M1 every day of the week. iCaveAnswers, will Apple ever launch a redesigned Apple Newton and transform it into a Mac? Doubtful, because the Newton was originally like a message pad. It was like more of a precursor to the iPad than anything else. So no, I don't see it being relaunched because we have iPads now. iCaveAnswers, if you have to choose a country to go to in South America, where will you go and only one visit? For me, with the industry that I've worked in for the last 2 decades of my life, it's going to have to be Mexico, so that I can go and try some of that sweet mezcal. Tequila's good too, but mezcal's where it's at. Evan Rogers asks, iCaveAnswers, Olympics, yay or nay, favourite event? Nay. Mac Daddy asks, I drink answers, neat or rocks. Now, it depends what you're drinking, but if you're drinking a whiskey or something like that, I'm all about having the ice. Now, I know that a lot of people, if you're a purist, then you will want to drink at room temperature, and that's absolutely fine if that's what you want to do, because it does give you the opportunity to see a few more of those kind of different flavours in there, because you're not kind of mixing it down. And also, when you chill something, especially with chunks of ice, it will dilute the drink as well. Also from MacDaddy, I Drink Answers, I was actually thinking of asking you a few drinks-related questions with this ongoing Apple News drought. Now might be the time. I've been dabbling as a novice of the world of whiskey with a few Scottish Glens and a couple of American bourbons, looking to try another mid-range quality bottle of pure brown liquor joy. Can you add a suggestion or two to my list of to experience bottles? Cool, so my first suggestion would be, if you want to go mid-range and you've got some blended whiskies and you've got some single malts, is to go for like a blended malt. So generally when you have a mixed whiskey, like a blended whiskey, it has a lot of kind of regular grain alcohol to it, which is all still rested, but you have grain alcohol in there. Whereas for a single malt, you use malt. And there's a couple on the market, especially here in the UK. I'm not sure if they're both available in the States, but the Naked Grouse is one and Monkey Shoulder is the other one. Monkey Shoulder, massively popular over here. It's kind of marketed like a bourbon, and it's got those kind of aspects to it, but it is a blended Scotch, but a blended malt. So it's all malts. Yes, it's basically you blend single malts, and this is what you get, but without putting that kind of base underneath it. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, thank you so much for watching today, guys. Again, if you've got any iCaveAnswered stuff that you want to suggest for that show on the 15th of August, mark it in your diaries. We're going to get the live show kind of scheduled in pretty soon. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.